The gate had just opened at Terminal 4. Ethan glanced at his watch. He hated waiting, but something in the crowd caught his eye. His heart stalled. There she was, Ava, his ex-wife. 2 years. No contact, no word, no closure, just gone. She was walking quickly, nervously, her long brown hair tied in a messy bun, hoodie pulled low like she didn't want to be seen. In her arms, something he didn't expect. A baby. Ethan froze. A baby? Her baby, his brain, was trying to catch up when the child turned slightly, just enough to reveal a dimple on the left cheek. His dimple. The same one his mother used to say ran in their bloodline. The same dimple Ethan had as a toddler. His legs moved on their own, weaving through the crowd. "Ava?" he called out, voice dry. She stopped. Slowly she turned around, eyes wide, face pale. The baby clutched her hoodie tighter. "Ethan," she whispered. Her voice cracked like it hadn't been used in years. Ethan took one slow step closer. Is he?" She looked away, jaw clenched. That's when he knew. The baby was his, and she had never told him. He tried to breathe, but it felt like something had knocked the wind from his lungs. His son. Their son. A secret she'd buried for 2 years. Ava hugged the baby tighter and moved toward a corner near the vending machines. "We can't talk here, they're watching." "Who?" Ethan demanded, stepping in front of her. "What the hell is going on?" Ava's eyes were glassy. "Not here. Please. I didn't mean for you to see me like this. You weren't supposed to see me at all, were you?" "No," she admitted. He stared at her. "You left me. You filed for divorce, disappeared, and had a child without telling me." Her lip trembled, but she stood her ground. "It wasn't safe. For you or for him." She looked down at the boy, maybe a year old, dark eyes like his father's. "For all of us." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "You owe me the truth." Ava hesitated. "Do you remember Daniel Carter, her old boss?" Ethan remembered. Him too well. The one who always smiled too long at her. The one she swore was just a friend. She nodded slowly. "It was him? He wasn't just my boss, Ethan. He was something much darker. And I found out too late." "Found out what?" "That he was running a shell company through our firm, using employees, including me, as pawns in his operation. Laundering, trafficking. I got too close. I found files I wasn't supposed to see, and when I confronted him, he smiled and said, 'You're cute when you think you matter.'" Ethan's blood ran cold. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "I tried," she said, her voice brittle. "But 2 days later I got a friendly visit. My apartment was ransacked. My computer was gone, I was followed, and then the threats came." Her hand brushed the child's head. "They said they'd kill him. Said they'd make it look like a crib death and no one would question it." Ethan stepped back, struggling to connect the woman in front of him with the one he once loved. "The one who left him shattered. You should have told me," he said, voice shaking. "I couldn't risk it. You were angry, hurt, and Daniel had eyes everywhere. If I reached out to you, he'd know. I would have protected you." "Would you?" she said, gently but firmly. "Back then, you were drinking every night. You thought I cheated on you with him. You weren't in any shape to fight a man like Daniel Carter." Silence. That cut deeper than he expected, because she wasn't wrong. After she left, Ethan had spiraled. Bottle after bottle, day after day. He lost his job. Pushed. Away friends. He blamed Ava, yes, but mostly he blamed himself. He didn't know she'd been hiding something darker than heartbreak. Suddenly, a voice rang out over the airport speaker. "Paging Ava Carter." "Ava Carter, please proceed to gate 12. Ethan turned. 2 men in suits were standing near the gate. One was scanning the crowd. The other had a photo in hand. Ava went pale. "It's them. They're here? They've been following me for weeks. I thought I lost them in Montreal. Why the hell would you come to New York? to disappear again. This was a stop on the way to Mexico. I was going to vanish completely, get new names, new lives. But now I've seen you, she nodded. Now you're part of this. Ethan didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand. Come on. What? I'm not losing my son again. Let's move. They slipped through the side corridor near the maintenance zone, past security doors and down an escalator. Where are we going? Ava whispered. Breathless, I parked in the underground lot. I'll get you out. Ethan, we'll talk later. Right now, we run. They ducked into the garage, heartbeats thudding louder than footsteps. Ethan could feel the rush of adrenaline firing through his limbs. He kept looking over his shoulder, no sign of the men. Yet, he opened the car door, and Ava buckled the baby in with practiced speed. They peeled out of the lot just as one of the suited men emerged from the stairwell, locking eyes with Ethan for half a second before the car shot away. 15 minutes later, they pulled into a dark alley behind a shuttered bakery. Ethan shut the engine off. Silence. The baby had fallen asleep. You named him? Ethan asked quietly. Liam, she said, barely audible. His name is Liam. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Liam, his son. How old is he? 13 months. He did the math. She must have found out just weeks after leaving. Carried. The pregnancy alone. Gave birth alone. Raised Liam in hiding, always running. Does he know? Ethan asked. Know what? Who I am. Ava's eyes glistened. He knows your name. I told him stories, said his daddy was brave and smart and kind. I told him every night before bed. Ethan swallowed hard. I want to know him. You will, she whispered. But first, he said, we deal with Carter. Ava stared at him. You want to go after him? No, Ethan said. I want to expose him. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small flash drive. This is why they're chasing me. This drive has names, accounts, everything. But I can't go to the police. He's got people everywhere. Ethan took it and stared. He knew one thing. This wasn't just about a lost marriage anymore. This was war for Liam, for Ava, for the years he'd lost. He looked at her. This woman he once hated, now shaking in the front seat with their sleeping child in the back. He took her hand. We finish this, he said. Together. Rain tapped against the windshield like nervous fingers. The alley behind the bakery was quiet now, but Ethan's mind was racing. He stared at the small flash drive Ava had handed him. This holds everything, he asked. She nodded. It's encrypted, but I have the password. We just need to find someone we can trust. Ethan looked in the rearview mirror. Liam was still sleeping, his tiny chest rising and falling steadily. The thought of someone threatening his son filled him with rage. I know someone, Ethan said, but it's a risk. Who? Ava asked. Tom Reyes. He was my best friend in college. We both worked in tech. After school, he went to work for the FBI, Cyber Division. Ava's eyes narrowed. You trust him? I haven't seen him in 5 years, Ethan admitted. But if anyone can help us without tipping Carter off, it's him. Ava hesitated. We don't have time to be wrong, Ethan. If they track us again, we won't let them, he said. You and Liam will be safe, I swear. They drove in silence for a while. The city faded into the distance as they moved into the suburbs, finally pulling up to a quiet street, lined with old oak trees and brick houses. Ethan parked 2 blocks away from Tom's home, just in case they were followed. I'll go in alone, Ethan said. Wait here. Keep the doors locked. Ava nodded nervously, pulling Liam closer in the back seat. Be careful. Ethan jogged up the driveway and rang the doorbell. A moment passed. Then the door opened. Ethan? Tom Reyes looked older than Ethan remembered. Sharper lines around. His mouth silver at his temples, but his eyes were the same. Sharp, calculating, loyal. Hey, Tom, Ethan said, a little breathless. I need your help. And I don't have time to explain it all out here. Tom studied him for a moment, then stepped aside. Get in. 10 minutes later, Ava and Liam were inside too, seated cautiously in the living room. Tom listened as Ethan explained everything, from Ava's sudden disappearance to the threats from Daniel Carter to the flash drive with evidence. When Ethan finished, Tom leaned back and let out a long breath. "Damn," he muttered. "You two stepped in it deep. Can you crack it?" Ethan asked, handing him the flash drive. Tom turned it over in his hands. "Yeah. But if this has what you say it does, we'll have to move fast. Carter's people won't stop." He got up and led them to his basement, which looked more like a surveillance control room. Multiple monitors, encrypted servers, backup power supplies. It was clear Tom hadn't left his skills behind when he left the FBI. He plugged the drive. In typing rapidly, Ava clutched Liam tighter, her hands trembling. Ethan noticed and gently put a hand on hers. "I'm here now," he whispered. "You don't have to face this alone anymore." She looked at him, eyes filled with something he hadn't seen in years: trust. Minutes passed. Then Tom frowned. "Holy hell, this is big. Offshore accounts, dummy corporations, names of officials. Carter's built a whole empire on blackmail, fraud, and trafficking." Ethan clenched his fists. "Can we take him down?" Tom nodded slowly. "Yes, but not by going to the local police or even the regular FBI channels. Too many people on his payroll." "So what do we do?" Ava asked. Tom's eyes gleamed. "We go public, but smartly. We leak the evidence to journalists, watchdog groups, and international law enforcement all at once. Overwhelm his network before he can shut it down." Ethan looked at Ava. "Are you okay with that?" She exhaled slowly. "If it means Liam can grow up safe, yes." Tom stood. "Then let's get to work. We'll scrub your identities first. Create new aliases, then we'll prep the files for the leak." But as he turned to his computer again, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face darkened. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Tom showed him. The message, a simple line from an unknown number. "You have something that belongs to us. Bring the woman and the child, or we come get them," Ava gasped, instinctively pulling Liam close. "They found us." "No," Tom said. "They're guessing, fishing, but it means we're on a clock now." Night fell. The house was quiet, except for the tapping of Tom's keyboard and the distant sound of a thunderstorm rolling in. Ava laid Liam down on a couch, finally getting him to sleep. She sat beside Ethan, both of them watching the baby. "He looks like you," Ethan said softly. "I used to wonder," Ava whispered, "what he'd be like if you were in his life. Now I don't have to wonder." Ethan turned to her. "I was a mess, Ava. When you left, I thought it was because I failed you." "I didn't leave because of you," she said. "I left because I was afraid you'd get hurt. I watched you unravel, and it killed me. But if I stayed, they would have used you to control me." Ethan shook his head. "We lost 2 years. I missed his first steps, his first word." "You can be here now," Ava said gently. "We can still give him a better life." He looked at her, eyes full of emotion. "Do you still believe in us?" She didn't answer with words. She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. They sat there, finally silent, but for once not running. At 2 a.m., Tom's voice broke the calm. "I've got it. The files are ready. I'm setting the leak to deploy in 5 hours, automatically, even if something happens to me." "You think they'll come tonight?" Ethan asked. Tom nodded. "They'll try." Ethan stood up. "Then we need to be ready." Tom handed him a pistol. "You ever use one?" "I was a soldier before I became a mess," Ethan said grimly. "I remember enough." Ava stood too. "If they're coming, I won't just hide." "You don't have to fight," Ethan said. She looked him dead in the eye. "I won't let anyone take Liam from me, not ever again." At exactly 4:57 a.m., the door exploded inward. Men in black rushed in with silencers and flashlights, but Ethan was ready. Shots rang out. Tom shouted from the basement, "Hold them off! 3 more minutes!" Ava grabbed Liam and ducked behind. The couch, Ethan fired at the shadows, hitting one in the shoulder. Another man dove for cover. A third went for the stairs, but Ava stepped out from behind the wall with Tom's backup taser and dropped him to the floor with a scream. Ethan's eyes widened. "Nice shot." Ava breathed hard. "Motherhood changes. You." The last attacker rushed Ethan, and the two men wrestled violently, Ethan finally slamming him against the wall. Then silence. Ava peeked out. "Are we safe?" Tom came up from the basement holding his phone. "The leak just went live. Carter's done." The sun began to rise. The nightmare was over, or at least the worst of it. Later that morning, the news was flooded with headlines. Exposé. Billionaire CEO Daniel Carter at center of international crime ring. Anonymous leak leads to FBI raids across 3 states. Carter missing, manhunt underway. Ethan sat outside Tom's house, Liam on his lap, Ava beside him. "You think Carter will come after us?" Ava asked. Tom stepped out, sipping coffee. "He'll be hunted by every agency in the world. He won't have time." "And us?" Ethan asked. "I set up your new identities. No more running. You're free." Ava turned to Ethan. "So, what now?" He smiled, looking down at Liam. "Now we live." 3 weeks had passed since the early morning gunfight that changed everything. Daniel Carter had vanished. His empire? Crumbling. His secret files leaked. His allies either arrested or fleeing. And his reputation destroyed beyond repair. For Ethan, Ava, and little Liam, it was the first taste of peace in years. They were now living in a quiet coastal town under new names. Ethan had become Nick Harper. Ava was Rachel Harper. And Liam, just Liam, the only name that mattered. But peace, as they soon realized, was not the same as healing. Ethan woke before dawn, as he often did. Old habits from the military died hard. He walked to the small balcony and looked out at the endless ocean. Waves crashed below, constant and calm. But inside him, waves of a different kind churned. He had his son. He had Ava back. But he also had questions and guilt. Why didn't I see the signs earlier? Why did she have to go through all of it alone? Behind him, Ava stirred. She came to the balcony, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. "You're up again," she said softly. Ethan smiled weakly. "So are you." They stood silently, side by side. "I keep thinking about all the things we lost," Ava whispered. He turned toward her. "And the things we found again." She looked at him. "Do you think it's really over?" Ethan hesitated. "I think it's almost over." Ava's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I think there's more to this," he said. "Carter wasn't acting alone. Someone helped fake Liam's birth certificate. Someone kept the hospitals quiet. Someone powerful." Ava's face turned pale. "You mean—" "Yes, someone on the inside. And if they're still out there, they might come for him again." Later that day, Ethan visited a nearby internet cafe. He had created a private channel on the dark web, encrypted and untraceable. There he left a message under an alias known only to one man. "Need answers. Meet me where we buried the truth." He logged off and returned home. Ava watched him. "Concerned. You reached out to someone?" she asked. He nodded. "Someone who used to work for Carter. A man named Marcus Vell. He was one of Carter's tech enforcers, but he left the organization 2 years ago. Rumors said he grew a conscience." "And you trust him?" she asked. "I trust that he wants redemption. That's enough for now." 2 days later, Ethan received a reply. "You're right. Carter wasn't alone. Meet me tonight, 9 p.m., abandoned train station. Come alone." Ethan showed the message to Ava. "I'm going with you," she said immediately. "No," Ethan said firmly. "If it's a trap, I won't risk Liam losing both of us. Ava crossed her arms. I'm not letting you walk into danger alone again. Not after everything. They stared at each other, two strong hearts shaped by pain, stubborn and protective. Finally, Ethan softened. All right, but you stay hidden. If anything feels off, you run. Ava nodded. Deal. The abandoned train station was surrounded by weeds and silence. Rusted tracks led nowhere. The night was cold and the shadows thick. Ethan stepped forward, into the open, his footsteps echoing against broken concrete. He could feel Ava nearby, hidden in the trees with a clear view. Then a figure emerged from the darkness, tall, slim, hooded. Marcus? Ethan asked. The man nodded, keeping his hands visible. You came alone? Marcus asked. No, Ethan said honestly. But she's not here to fight. Marcus gave a bitter smile. Smart. Talk, Ethan said. Who else was behind Carter? Marcus looked around, tense. Carter worked with a woman. You probably never met her. Dr. Evelyn Maris. She's a biotech expert, quiet, clean, untraceable. She ran the clinic where Ava gave birth. Ethan's heart dropped. She falsified the death certificate. Yes, Marcus said. She handles disappearances, birth swaps, identity removals. Ethan's fists clenched. Why? Money. And because she believed in Carter's idea that some children belong to better families, rich families, powerful ones, she saw your son as a waste in a broken marriage. Carter had plans to place Liam with a partner investor. Ethan stepped closer. Where is she now? Marcus hesitated. Last I heard, she moved her base to a private island, Black Site, off the coast. She vanished after the leaks, but I know someone who might know where to find her. Why help us? Ethan asked. Marcus looked haunted. Because I helped separate 53 families. Because I saw babies sold to billionaires. Because I can't sleep. I'm trying to earn my soul back. Ethan nodded slowly. Then help us find her. Back home, Ethan told Ava everything. She stared blankly for a moment, then quietly asked, So Liam was going to be sold? Yes, Ethan whispered. Ava closed her eyes, her voice shaking. He was just hours old. I can't believe it. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. We have a lead. Marcus is giving us a contact. If we bring down Dr. Maris, we end it all. For good. Ava looked up at him. Then let's finish what we started. The contact's name was Anya Patel, a former lab assistant who had worked under Dr. Maris for 3 years. She was now living under protection, somewhere in South Africa. Tom helped arrange a private video call through a secure server. Anya appeared on screen, tired, nervous, but honest. You want Maris? She said. You'll have to be smart. She has a fortress now, cameras, guards, labs with biolocks. Why is she still doing this? Ava asked. She never stopped. Carter's empire fell, but she still runs the child relocation ring. Now she chooses who gets to live better lives. She thinks she's fixing the world. Ethan frowned. Can you give us proof? I already did, Anya said. I sent files to Marcus this morning, names, photos, maps of the compound. Ethan leaned forward. Thank you. This time, we'll make sure the world knows what she's doing. Anya stared at them. Be careful. Maris is colder than Carter. She doesn't bluff. She erases. That night, Ava sat by Liam's bed. He was curled up with a stuffed lion, breathing softly. She whispered to him, You're the strongest person I've ever known, baby. You survived all of it without even knowing. But now Mama's going to protect you. Ethan watched her from the doorway. He knew that in Ava's heart, revenge wasn't about payback. It was about justice, for Liam, for herself, and for every mother whose child was taken. The next day they packed bags. Tom handed Ethan a small black case. What's this? Ethan asked. New IDs, clean cash, 2 silent pistols, and a sat phone that works anywhere in the world. You'll need it. "You're not coming?" Ethan asked. Tom shook his head. "My job was to protect you here. You're stepping into the fire now. You have to end it yourselves." Ava hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Tom, for everything." Tom smiled. "Come back safe, all three of you." As their plane lifted into the sky, Ava looked out the window and whispered, "We're not running this time." Ethan took her hand. "No, we're finishing this." Below them, the ocean spread wide and endless, just like the path ahead. But somewhere beyond the waves, a monster still breathed, and this time they were going to cut off its head. The sea stretched endlessly ahead. Ethan, Ava, and Liam were on a private charter boat, slicing through the early morning fog. The air smelled of salt and rain. Ethan stood near the edge, scanning the horizon. Beside him, Ava held Liam tightly, her fingers trembling. Somewhere in the mist ahead was the island, the one place that still held the darkest secrets of their past. Dr. Evelyn Maris, the woman behind Liam's stolen birth, the mastermind who turned innocent lives into business deals, and now she would finally face justice. 30 minutes later, the island came into view. It looked almost fake, a paradise straight out of a postcard. Palm trees, white sand, a modern glass facility at the top of a hill, but Ethan and Ava weren't fooled. "I count at least 4 guards," Ethan said through binoculars, "patrolling in twos, all armed." Ava was calm, focused. "We go round the east side. Less visibility. We hide the boat in the rocks." Ethan nodded. "Once inside, we find the records room, the files Marcus and Anya spoke about, proof of every child they sold. If we get that, we bury her." Ava's voice hardened. "And if we don't, then we make sure she never touches another child again, one way or another." They docked silently on the far side of the island. No guards, no cameras, only trees and thick undergrowth. Ethan carried Liam in a sling across his chest, while Ava clutched a small pack with food, first aid, and a pistol. They hiked for 30 minutes in silence, moving through the trees like ghosts. Finally, they reached a high steel fence, 12 feet tall, topped with barbed wire. Ethan found a weak section near the corner. "Here." He pulled out a pair of wire cutters and got to work. 10 minutes later, they slipped through. Inside the compound, it was eerily quiet. The buildings were cold and modern, concrete, steel, and glass. Every step echoed. Cameras buzzed quietly overhead. The place smelled sterile, almost too clean. Ava pointed. "Main lab, that's where she keeps the files." Ethan scanned the area. "One guard at the door." "I'll distract him," Ava whispered. "You get in?" Ethan frowned. "No, too risky." She looked at him sharply. "You taught me to fight back, remember? I'm not that woman who cried herself to sleep every night anymore." Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Be careful." Ava stepped out into the hallway, eyes wide, acting like she was lost. The guard immediately raised his gun. "Hey, who are you? I'm a patient. I need help, please," she cried, stumbling forward. The guard stepped closer, confused. That's when Ethan appeared behind him, striking hard with the butt of his pistol. The man dropped. They dragged his body into a storage closet and slipped inside the lab. Inside the main lab, Ethan moved quickly. Rows of glass cases, medical files, hard drives, locked drawers. Ava opened a file cabinet. Her eyes went wide. "Ethan!" She pulled out dozens of folders, each with a photo of a baby, a birth name, and a relocation ID. Dates, locations, rich families across the world. Ethan grabbed a flash drive and began scanning files into it. "We take this to the press," he said. "To the world. Let everyone see who she is." Ava suddenly froze. "I hear footsteps." Ethan grabbed the files and stuffed them into his pack. They slipped out of the lab just as 2 guards turned the corner. Alarms blared. They'd been seen. They ran through the corridor, ducking into shadows, weaving through side rooms. Gunshots rang out. One bullet hit the wall inches from Ava's head. Ethan shielded her, pushing forward. They burst into a stairwell and climbed up to the roof. From there they could see the dock below. 5 more guards rushing in from the shore. "We're trapped," Ava said, breathless. Ethan scanned the horizon. "No, there's a cable system. It leads to the maintenance shed across the compound." "You want to zip line with a baby?" she asked, shocked. "I want to survive." He strapped Liam tightly to his chest, then looped the cable hook onto the line. "Hold on to me," he told Ava. With a deep breath, they leapt. The wind roared in their ears as they zipped across the compound. Bullets flew past them. One clipped Ethan's shoulder. He winced, but held firm. They landed hard on the metal roof of the shed, rolling to safety. Ava looked at him, blood seeping through his shirt. "You're hit." "I've had worse," he said, grimacing. Inside the shed, they found an old ATV. "No keys," Ava muttered. Ethan ripped open the dash, hot-wired the engine. "Get in!" They sped off toward the jungle path, crashing through fences, dodging bullets, racing back to the east shore where their boat was hidden. Just as they reached the beach, another figure stepped into view. Dr. Evelyn Maris. She was older than Ava expected, white lab coat, thin glasses, a calm, dead stare. "Well," she said, "I wondered if the ghosts would ever show up." Ethan raised his gun. "It's over, Evelyn," she smiled. "Oh, Ethan, I don't lose. You know what I do to problems." She snapped her fingers. Behind her, 2 guards appeared, but before they could shoot, Ava fired first. 2 quick shots. The guards dropped. Maris flinched. "You don't know what you're doing. You'll ruin everything." Ava stepped forward, her voice ice-cold. "You ruined lives. You stole my son. You lied to my face as I screamed in a hospital bed." Maris's hands shook now. "You have no proof." Ethan held up the flash drive. "We have everything." For the first time, Maris looked afraid. "You'll never get off this island," she hissed. "We already have," Ethan said. Behind them, Tom's boat appeared from the fog. He'd tracked them from the sat phone, just in case. Maris took one last step forward. Ava aimed her gun. "Move again, and I swear I won't miss." Maris stopped. They tied up Dr. Maris and brought her onto the boat. As the island faded behind them, Ava held Liam close, tears finally falling. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." Ethan looked out at the horizon. "No," he said. "Now it begins." Back in the US, the files were released. News channels exploded with stories of stolen babies, bribed doctors, and high-profile names tied to the relocation scheme. Arrests followed. Protests spread. And finally, after months of silence, the justice system responded. Dr. Evelyn Maris was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Her empire dismantled. Her name forever cursed. 6 months later, Ava stood on a small stage at a national child safety conference. A crowd of reporters, parents, and survivors watched her with admiration. She held the microphone tightly, then began, "I came here today not as a victim, but as a mother, a fighter, a woman who was broken and rebuilt herself. They told me my son died. They made me grieve something I never lost, but I found the truth. I faced the monster, and now I'm here. If you're out there, grieving, searching, lost, know this, you are not alone, and the truth has power, even if it hides in the darkest places." Thunderous applause followed. Ethan stood in the crowd, Liam sleeping in his arms. Their story had shaken the world, but more importantly, it had saved others. That night, Ava and Ethan sat together on their porch, stars above them, ocean before them. "No more running," Ava said. "No more hiding," Ethan replied. They clinked glasses of tea. "To truth," she whispered. "To revenge," he added with a smile. Then they looked at their son, sleeping safely, finally free from nightmares he never even knew. And for the first time in years, they felt peace, 6 months had passed. The storm had settled. The world had heard the truth. Dr. Evelyn Maris was behind bars. News headlines no longer screamed Ava's name. But for her, the war wasn't entirely over, because some wounds weren't on the skin. They were buried deep. And Ava had one final question left. Who helped Maris take her baby? Ava sat in a quiet cafe, sipping coffee alone. Liam was at daycare. For the first time, Ethan had gone to meet with lawyers handling the civil lawsuits against the clinic. Her phone buzzed. It was Anya, the nurse who once worked for Maris, now a whistleblower helping uncover the entire operation. Ava, Anya said nervously, there's something I didn't tell you before. Ava's heart skipped. Go on. There was someone else involved in Liam's case. Someone who gave approval from the hospital, a signature, a clearance that allowed the switch to happen that night. Who? Ava asked. Your ex-husband's mother, Eleanor Carter. Ava's breath caught. Eleanor, the woman who always smiled sweetly, brought flowers and whispered behind Ava's back. She had hated Ava from the beginning, said she was never good enough for her perfect son. Ava thought she'd cut that past away. But it wasn't over. She needed to see her. 2 days later, Ava stood outside Eleanor's gated mansion. The same house where she had once lived, once dreamed of a family. Now it felt like a cold museum. Eleanor opened the door herself. She hadn't changed much. Silver hair, pearl earrings, a firm stare. Ava, she said. What a surprise. Ava looked straight at her. You were part of it. Eleanor didn't flinch. I don't know what you're talking about. You helped fake Liam's death. You signed the hospital forms that let them take him. Eleanor looked away for just a second, a crack in her armor. You always wanted control, Ava continued. You said I wasn't fit to raise a Carter, but you stole my child. You destroyed my life. Eleanor's voice was suddenly sharp. He deserved better, and my son, he didn't want a child with you anymore. He begged me to fix it. Ava felt something inside her break. You heartless woman, she whispered. Eleanor stepped closer. You think this ends with me in jail? No one will believe you. I have money, power. Your little speeches won't work here. Ava stared at her, then quietly pulled out her phone. I already recorded you. Eleanor's face went white. I'm not the same Ava you tried to destroy. I don't need your approval. I have the truth, and this time it's mine to use. The recording was turned over to the district attorney. Within weeks, Eleanor Carter was indicted for conspiracy and child trafficking. It became national news. The grandmother who helped steal her own grandchild, even Ava's ex-husband Derek, released a statement denying any involvement. But public trust was shattered. Their entire family name fell from grace. Ava, on the other hand, rose higher. Meanwhile, Ethan quietly battled his own ghosts. He never told Ava much about the people he once worked for. The missions, the betrayals, the blood on his hands. But that past had one name he could never forget. Greystone, an underground intelligence contractor, known for covering crimes, silencing whistleblowers, erasing people, and now Greystone was targeting Ethan because he had helped bring down Maris. One night, Ava found him staring at a hidden folder on his laptop, marked Greystone Protocol. What's this? She asked. Ethan didn't answer at first. Then he finally said, They're watching. Us, Ava. They want the files back. They want silence, and they'll come. Ava's heart dropped. So what do we do? Ethan looked at her, calm but cold. We fight back. Together, they moved into a secure location outside the city, a quiet ranch with fences, surveillance, and one trusted guard. Tom, the sailor who had helped them escape the island. Tom had once worked with Ethan. He knew how these enemies moved. If Greystone's sending someone, he said, we'll know before they even touch the front gate. But the threat wasn't just physical, it was digital, psychological. Silent emails were hacked. Ava's speaking tour was cancelled suddenly. Donation accounts froze. They were being erased. Slowly, methodically, Ethan sat Ava down. We need to expose them the same way we exposed Maris, but we need a public witness, someone inside Greystone, someone with real intel. Ava frowned. Who would even risk that? Ethan opened a file. There's one name. She used to be an analyst. She vanished 3 years ago after threatening to leak documents. Ava leaned forward. What's her name? Ethan showed her a photo. Her mouth fell open. It was Lara. The same woman Ava had once seen with Derek. The same one she thought ruined her marriage. But now, she might be the only one who could save their lives. The next day, Ava tracked Lara's last known location to a cabin in Montana. She left Liam with Tom and flew out alone. She didn't tell Ethan, not yet. She needed to face this part by herself. When she found Lara, the woman looked thinner, pale, but alive. You came all this way? Lara asked. You're brave. Ava didn't waste time. I need your help. Greystone is coming after us. Ethan says you know what they're capable of. Lara gave a sad smile. I used to help them do it. Ava was quiet, then asked the question that had haunted her for years. Were you ever with Derek, my husband? Lara looked down. No. He told me you were already gone, that you had left him after the loss. He lied to both of us. Ava felt the bitterness leave her like breath. Everything made sense now. Lara wasn't the villain. She was another pawn. Ava took a deep breath. Then help me make it right. Back in the city, Ethan set up a live stream to an independent journalist network. The plan was to go public with Lara's testimony, along with all the files they had on Greystone. Everything would be out in the open. No more shadows. No more fear. Lara sat in front of the camera, her voice steady. My name is Lara Matthews. I worked for Greystone for 7 years. I falsified documents. I planted stories. I erased people who got too close. I'm done hiding. This is the truth, and I'm risking everything to speak it. Within hours, the video went viral. The world listened, but Greystone was listening too. That night, as Ava, Ethan, and Lara returned home, their house was dark, too quiet. Tom was missing. Liam's crib was empty. Ava's heart nearly stopped. Then a message lit up on her phone. You want your son back? Bring the hard drive. Come alone. Attached was a location pin in the same hospital where Ava had given birth, the place where it all began. Ethan cursed under his breath. They want to end this where it started. Ava looked at him, tears in her eyes. I'm going, she said. No, Ethan growled. You're not walking into that alone. Ava lifted her chin. They took my son once. They won't do it again. The air was cold outside the hospital. Ava stood alone, clutching a small backpack with the encrypted hard drive. The place looked the same, sterile, quiet, ghost-like, except tonight the walls held secrets darker than ever before. Inside somewhere was her son, and the people who had once stolen her entire life. She took a deep breath and stepped through the automatic doors. This time, she wasn't here to deliver. She was here to take back everything that was stolen. 1 floor up, the lights flickered. Empty. Hallways, broken machines. This wing had been shut down after the Maris scandal. But Ava followed the location pin exactly. Her footsteps echoed. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the hallway speaker. We told you to come alone, but we see you brought company. Ava froze. She wasn't followed, was she? Ethan's in the basement. We'll deal with him. You want the boy? Come forward. Her heart thudded. Ethan had disobeyed her. He had come to protect her. Again. But now, he was in danger too. She pushed forward anyway. In room 314, a man in a black suit waited. Behind him, Liam sat in a stroller, gagged, unharmed but frightened. Two more guards stood behind them with weapons. The man turned. "Ms. Carter, or should I say, Ms. Blake now?" Ava's eyes narrowed. "Where's Tom?" "Dead," the man said simply. Loyal but careless. Ava felt rage rise in her throat. She looked at Liam. "Let my son go." The man smirked. "That drive in your bag contains years of government-grade surveillance data, whistleblower contacts, proof of our global operations. And you think a child's life is worth it?" Ava stared at him, then tossed the bag to the floor. He opened it, verified the drive. "Very good," he nodded to a guard. "Let the boy—" A sharp crack echoed through the corridor. One of the guards dropped, blood blooming on his chest. Then another shot. The second fell. The man shouted, reaching for his gun. But before he could aim, Ethan burst into the room, tackled him to the ground, and punched him until the man stopped moving. Liam screamed. Ava rushed to grab him, tears running down her face. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "Mummy's here." Minutes later, police sirens wailed outside. Lara had sent the stream code. The entire confrontation had been recorded from Ethan's lapel camera, broadcasted live on the same network that exposed Maris. Millions of people watched in real time. As Greystone's men were arrested, agents from multiple countries responded. It became a global takedown. Ava stood outside, wrapped in a blanket, holding Liam close. Ethan came beside her, bruised but breathing. They said nothing. They didn't need to, because it was over. Finally over. 3 weeks later, Ava sat on stage at a sold-out conference titled Truth Over Power. She held Liam on her lap as she spoke to thousands of people and millions more watching online. "I lost everything once," she began softly. "My child, my home, my name, and yet the truth never left me. I clung to it when no one else would. I screamed it in silence when the world called me crazy. But here's what I learned. They can take your comfort, your peace, your reputation, but they cannot take your soul unless you hand it over." And I refused to hand it over. The crowd stood to their feet. She wasn't just a mother or a survivor. She had become a symbol of justice. After the speech, she walked off stage and found Ethan waiting. He looked at her with pride and something deeper. "I have a question," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You planning something?" He held out a small box. Inside was a ring. "I know you didn't get the life you wanted the first time. I know the world broke you in ways I can never fully understand. But I want to build something real with you. No secrets, no shadows, just us." Ava's eyes filled with tears, not because of the proposal, but because for the first time in years she believed it. "Yes," she whispered. 1 year later, Ava, Ethan, and Liam moved to a coastal town in Oregon. They opened a wellness retreat for trauma survivors. People from around the world came to heal, to rebuild, to learn from Ava's journey. Every morning, Ava walked the beach with Liam, now a bright, happy toddler. She still had nightmares sometimes, still woke up gasping for breath, but she no longer felt powerless. She no longer felt voiceless, because her voice had changed laws, closed clinics, brought down corrupt systems. She had become the storm she once feared. On the anniversary of her stillborn night, she visited the hospital memorial garden, where a plaque once held her baby's false death. She had the inscription replaced. Now it read, "For the child they said was gone, but whose heartbeat never stopped fighting. Love, Mom." What she learned, Ava didn't believe in revenge anymore. She believed in rising. The people who hurt her wanted her destroyed, erased, obedient, but she rebuilt from the ashes. She didn't just get her son back. She got her voice, her truth, and a life untouchable by those who once tried to break her. The final lesson she shared, in her book, "Grief doesn't end, but neither does hope, and when truth finally rises, so do we." The end.